So welcome everyone to the IMC 23. I had a little rap song, but I'm not going to say it. No, I asked ChatGPT yesterday night to come up with good rap rhymes. No, so welcome, my name is Massimo TAVONI. I'm the chair of this session and chair of the local host. So let's just, without further delay, and well, first of all, welcome everyone here. It's great to see you all. We're going to discuss in this session how many of you are here, how many applications we got, how big IMC is becoming, how important it is becoming, and so we have this plenary session to kick us off. But first of all, welcome everyone, and thanks for being here in Venice with us this year. So we have 3 speakers. Actually, I'm chairing, but also I'm going to talk later, so I won't take too much time at the beginning, and I will actually leave the floor immediately to John WEYANT. John WEYANT is the chairman of the IMC, of the scientific committee of the IMC, and he's been doing this modeling capacity for so many years. He has, the best experience. He's also a professor at Stanford University. So please welcome John WEYANT.
Good morning, everybody. I actually felt with the gongs there, for those of you who are friends of the TV series Game of Thrones, like we were kind of going into a Game of Thrones episode. So thanks for the special effects, Max. So it's my great honor to be the first of 3 people to welcome you on this panel. As Max mentioned, I am doing so on behalf of the Scientific Steering Committee of the IMC. So we have half an hour, 3 speakers, and a lot to cover. So I propose to go straight in. My job is to remind you or tell you for the first time about the objectives and structure of the Integrated Assessment Modeling Consortium, number 1, and then get into some statistics about how fast the organization has grown. As Max said, we had record attendance last year. One simplistic way to think about that is 2 of these sections set the all-time record in University of Maryland last year, and now we have a whole new section here, and we cut off in-person registrations about 6 weeks or more before the session. So thank you all for coming. It's very impressive indeed, and I hope we'll present a program that's worthy of your attention. So the IMC was created in 2007 in response to a call from the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, for a research organization to help develop new scenarios, even though we had broader goals than that initially. That was the original motivation, particularly for the timing. It started with just 3 organizations, EASA through Nevis and Nakashinovich, the National Institute for Applied Studies, National Institute for Environmental Studies in Japan with Mikiko Kainuma and myself from Stanford Energy Modeling Forum. We immediately asked a bunch of mostly European colleagues to join us and got up to the original size of the steering committee, which was 7. As you'll see, we've grown quite a bit since then. It has consolidated and grown over time in the spirit of an open and collaborative community. The aims of the IMC are to coordinate, not dictate, but coordinate the work of the integrated assessment community writ large, and to facilitate its interactions with the climate modeling and impacts adaptation and vulnerability research community, among others, and also provide a point of contact with organizations such as, but not limited to, the IPCC, and more recently, the sustainable finance community. And apropos of a pre-meeting yesterday, several other groups are now being considered for in-depth interactions with the integrated assessment community. All continents are represented in the IMC membership, except for Africa, as you'll see there, and Greenland, which we didn't expect to get anybody from. There are members from 30 different countries, 74 institutional members, not individual members, but big institutions like the CMCC group here in Venice, the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis and whatnot. And that makes, in addition, 652 individuals get the IMC newsletter through our network. If you do the math, you can tell that they come from more than just the 74 institutional members. The organization there is a scientific steering committee, but a lot of the work, the on-the-ground work, is done by groups called scientific working groups, which are composed of consortium members and non-members. There are 5 of them now, and you'll hear updates on them throughout the next 3 days. So the scientific working groups are the key mechanism by which we kind of push the agenda forward for the integrated assessment community writ large. Here are the 5 groups. There's one on data and data protocols, evaluation and diagnostics, scenarios, climate-related financial analysis, which is relatively new, and then a brand new one the last couple of years, a working group on national scenarios, and what you can read from them and how they relate to the global scenarios that a lot of the teams do as well. We are advised by an integrated assessment consortium advisory council. You'll see the 10 members there now. We will add 5 additional members by the first of the year, and they provide connections with several communities that we're either already interacting with or hope to interact with in the future. They also provide a network for disseminating the results of the work that we do to their home communities. We'd like to extend a great deal of thanks, given how big the meeting got and how filled this room is, to the Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change, where Max is, but the 3 people you'll see in evidence here are Sylvia, Monica, and Jugetta, helping out all the way. I think it's safe to say that we wouldn't be here either as an institution or in this beautiful place, which they call home in Venice, without their constant attention to detail that all of us are incapable of keeping track of at times. I think they're all in the room. Thank you. Thank you again to them. We also want to promote another resource that the IMC provides, and that is a website that has all kinds of resources for databases and other such things. You can read all the publications and job opportunities and whatnot. So it's quite a accomplished thing, which has been built up again through the efforts of the Secretariat over the last 5 or 6 years. So check it out if you haven't already done so. Other things we do besides the annual meeting here is we conduct webinars and support different events in various ways. On communication, we do have a monthly newsletter, the resources which I just showed on the website, mostly including job opportunities. We do hand out awards every year. We're not going to do all 4 this year for reasons we'll explain later, but we have a Lifetime Achievement Award, an Extraordinary Contribution to the Field of Integrated Assessment in the recent past award, an award for early career researchers, and at the end of this time, we'll have a Best Poster Award across the in-person and online posters, of which we had maybe 100 submissions, I think. More than 100 submissions and 100 actually in competition. I'm on the committee to evaluate the online posters, and there are just online 81 such posters. So really excited, really glad you all chose to travel here to this wonderful place and this wonderful historic hotel. And at this point, I'd like to turn it back over to Max to welcome you on behalf of the local organizing committee at the CMCC. Max.
Thanks, John, for the introduction. And again, let me welcome you once more as the slides come up. And I'll tell you a few words about where we are also. So, first of all, this year's host is CMCC, the Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change, which is a large research institute covering all aspects of climate change. And specifically, it is constituted of 3 institutes, one of which is the European Institute on Economics and the Environment, which is the institute that is being taking care of organizing specifically this meeting. It was established 5 years ago as a transatlantic strategic partnership between CMCC and the Resources for the Future in the US. And what we do in the institute, which is both in Milan and Venice, we are committed to improving environmental, energy, and natural resource decisions through impartial socioeconomic research and policy engagement. If you want to know anything more about our institute, the larger organization, just reach out anytime to us and we would be happy to discuss more. And thanks again to CMCC, which I'm going to thank again later on for having done all the effort in organizing a meeting like this one. So first, where are we? We are in a very big building. As you probably have noticed, you might have got lost in the corridors. It used to be one of the largest buildings in Venice. It used to be a mill. It was actually founded, and you have a lot of infographics actually on the corridor, by an emigrant from Switzerland who moved to Venice at the end of the 1900th century and started innovating in new techniques for producing higher quality grain wheat flour. And because of that, he had a series of mills around on a river nearby, and because of his innovation, his products were selling great. And the river, by the way, was becoming less navigable because of water flows. And so he decided to come and actually to move here to Venice and to build this huge building, which you see here in a kind of neo-Gothic architecture style, which used to host about 1,500 workers. And it was one of the largest buildings. It was, for example, the first building to have electricity in town at the beginning of the past century. And he became the wealthiest man in town at the time. This allowed him to buy, famous places like Palazzo Grassi. Well, you might have been there for seeing exhibitions and arts, and that all looked very good. But now, as in every story, there's an up and a down. He was tragically assassinated by a former employee at the train station. Employee with mental problems, not because of something specifically, and that started a decline. The decline eventually, though, was really kicked in by issues which came from outside. The war, the first war, and then subsequently with fascism taking place in Italy and the policy of autarky becoming a policy in Italy, that ultimately deteriorated their businesses. The policy essentially mandated that Italy became self-independent in producing grain. It used to import about a quarter or a third of its grain from outside, and in a matter of a few years, it actually became self-independent. However, for these businesses who was importing grain and selling grain abroad, that was terrible news. And by the way, this has had a lot of consequences also on Italian economy and also on the social structure of Italy. So eventually then the company went into bankruptcy and then it was sold. And then it was renovated and it came back to life not so long ago. You can learn more about the history about this place just in the corridor, a lot of infographics. And we are in Venice, of course. We have to talk about climate change. This is the historical sea level rise in Venice in the past, well, more or less since the time this building was built, exactly. And you see that's been quite an increase in sea level rise. We're about now 30 centimeters of sea level rise. This now, exactly now or in an hour from now, we have the high tide of 100 centimeters today. And its sea level rise is actually increasing by about 5 millimeters per year. Part is due to land subsidence and land movement, and part is to sea level rise. Looking into the future, it's mostly going to be sea level rise, which is going to threaten Venice in a significant way. And there are projections that I'm quoting from this paper of sea level rise projections that you can see here. They vary depending, of course, on the scenarios and, of course, on all the uncertainties. When we know when it comes to sea level rise, there's very significant uncertainties that you can see here. In the paper, they even say up to 2 meters is actually an unlikely, but not implausible, but actually plausible high-end scenarios, depending on the dynamics that actually drive these complex dynamics of sea level rise. So this is a place where you can see, of course, climate change in action. And also there's a place where we are trying to take measures against it. It's not going to be activated today. This is the MOSE. This is a system of dams preventing the city from flooding, essentially creating a wedge between sea level rise outside the city and in the lagoon, which gets activated when the tide is particularly high. Sounds like a good approach, and indeed it is certainly going to been helping in the past few years since it became operational to try to reduce the number of flood events. The wall rises as they're filled with air, so it's actually a relatively smart engineering design. However, it costed already 6 billion euros to build. It's going to cost, it's not yet completed, and it's going to cost around 7 billion in total. There's also, and one doesn't think about it, a lot of operation maintenance cost, 60 million euros for O&M just in 2022. Every time you operate it is 200,000 euros of operation cost. So that's why you only do it when it's actually needed. So we often don't think about the adaptation as just being just an investment. It's actually, you have to invest, so it draws a lot of resources. There are issues related to the salt marshes threat and ecosystems. The implications for ecosystems are not well understood. Environmental groups are concerned that actually this might damage the salt marshes, which have created this incredible ecosystem, which has allowed the Lagoon of Venice to become what it has become. So there are also disadvantages and threats there. And of course, depending on what kind of sea level rise we're going to see, but already with 60 centimeters of sea level rise, which is a given from the scenarios you just saw in the previous slide, this will be needed 500 times a year. So at some point, it's going to become a kind of operational all the time, or almost. And so that also speaks to the limitation of the things we can do to adapt to climate change. Which bring us back to why we are here. We are here to also study adaptation, but I would say first and foremost also to try to mitigate CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases, just in the recognition also that adaptation measures cannot just save us, obviously, but also maybe study the implications and interfaces between adaptation and mitigation. So that's why a community like you is really needed when you think about places which, in a way, are clearly and severely threatened by what we are seeing already in the next few decades, with another 30 centimeters coming by mid-century or just after that. So that's why your work is specifically important here. So, of course, the work that you're presenting has been great. We're going to hear about some of the statistics. It's been a record year in terms of submissions to the IMC, so we are really super excited. At the beginning, we had a lot of conversations. We actually had selected another place to host the meeting, which was a smaller place, by the way, in an area which also is more prone to flood and sea levels and tides. But then there's actually Detlef and other folks in the steering committee actually pushed us to go to search for a larger space, because we thought in anticipation we would have a lot of papers submitted, and it turned out actually that was the right decisions, because we, in the end, received more than 420 applications for this year, as we're going to hear in a second. But all this work would have not been possible, of course, without our sponsors, so I have to thank here Deloitte Climate and Sustainability, Bank of Italy, the European Commission, through these two research programs, but also directly in terms of funding from the European Commission. So thanks really to all the sponsors at the beginning. One of the reasons why we were a bit concerned to come here is obviously this is a big facility, so we need to do the proper fundraising. And I don't see Climate Works here. I don't know why this disappeared. I had it in the slide yesterday. I'm really sorry. Climate Works has been one of the key funders of this initiative. So, but anyway, it was in the slide before that I saw, so I'm sorry again for not being included here. Without our sponsor, we would not have simply been able to do this, and that would have been really a pity. And then we have seen this already. Oh no, here we are. Sorry. It wasn't coming up. Yes, both Climate Works and the European Commission more generally, and then two specific projects that the European Commission has been kindly providing funding to support this fantastic initiative, for which we needed significant resources also. So thanks again. And let me end again by thanking, first of all, CMCC, the entire organization. I think we have Flavia and Gaetano. They are somewhere here. Great. Thank you to have you here, and all the CMCC staff. And then again, I would say a second round of applause is really needed, because without Monica, Silvia, and Ugetta, this would not have simply been possible. So thanks again. Enjoy the staying. I hope you also have some time for sightseeing, not just staying closed in a room. Enjoy the sessions. But I mean, not do that during the sessions, though. Of course, just when the conference is ending. And then let me turn it over to Detlef from the Dutch Environmental Agency and the University of Utrecht, who's going to walk you through a little bit through this year's event. Thanks again for being here. You have to wait. It's coming up.
Okay, great. Yeah, so with the Olympics, apparently there's a tradition that you, at the end of the Olympics, always conclude that this was the greatest games ever. When last year CMCC offered to organize the next IMC in Venice, the anticipation is already that this was going to be a really good conference with a lot of people being interested to come, and which turned out to be completely true. We had a record of submissions. Around 420 papers were submitted to the conference, and obviously that also, that on the one hand provides a lot of opportunities, also it provided some challenges as well. So we had to find space for a lot of parallel presentations. In the past, most of these conferences, we had around 100 presentations, oral presentations, in the parallel sessions. This year, with this 420 submissions, we didn't want to go so low an acceptance rate. So we tried to make room for a lot of parallel presentations. You will notice it in the program because we have shortened the time of the presentations. I'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, in terms of the people that are coming, so we have slightly over 300 people here on site, but we also have more than 100 people online joining the conference. One thing that is really important, I think, is that in terms of the gender balance, we are getting more and more equal. So about 60% male, but also 40% female. And in terms of the representation, yeah, we are in Europe now. So we see that half of the people that are coming to the conference come from Europe, but the substantial size of the conference also comes from Asia and North America. And this time, I think it is really great as well that we have quite some presentation as well from Africa and South America. Yeah, you can see also on the right the growth of our conference, which is a very good sign, and at the same time it also provides some challenges, but we will find out. Yeah, we this year for the first time used the WUFA app. It's a way to go and organize your conference. Probably people have already used it. You can use it online. You can also use it with the app. I encourage people to use it. That helps really your presence here. Then, in terms of the logistics, we now for the plenary are in this big hall. With the rest of the afternoon and tomorrow and Thursday morning, we will be in parallel sessions. For the parallel sessions, one of them is actually this hall. Then we have two rooms which are next to here, which are room 2 and 3. The most difficult to find is room 4, which is upstairs, where you have to take the staircase or the elevator in the corner and go up. Yeah, several of the parallel sessions are obviously in room 4. One thing that is important to notice as well is that we will have lunches, of course. The lunches are served in the area just here across the hall. We have less chairs than people. And so if you notice that somebody would actually prefer to use a chair, make sure that you provide that you offer that as well. Make it be a bit flexible here. Yeah, the Wi-Fi network is IMC 2023, and then Venice 2023, and obviously with an exclamation mark. Yeah, the program, we have 180, almost 180 papers being presented in the parallel sessions. We have 13 people presenting here in the plenary. We have 50 posters. The poster sessions are at the end of today and the end of tomorrow. The posters are going to be in this large corridor to the left of the halls here. But the rest of the day, the posters are actually also visible if you follow that corridor at the end of the corridor. There is also 80 posters that are presented online. And the online poster part is an important part of our conference. We have accepted these papers, people will be presenting it, and so I would strongly encourage also you to participate in this online poster sessions. They are scheduled for tomorrow morning and for Thursday morning, and there's one also scheduled in the afternoon. Another important thing, and that is on Thursday, is that we have the scientific working group sessions, and I hope people will attend them as well, and because they're an important part of the IMC. We have actually 5 scientific working groups, and so the 5th scientific working group will be online on November 22nd, and that will be on diagnostics. In the program we also have the award sessions, you will notice later, and we have also the community project sessions. That's every year. For the community projects, it simply is a place where we allow people to present new projects that are done with multiple institutes. If you want to present that, and it's on Thursday, then please bring your presentations, which would be only one slide, 1-minute presentation, to the IMC Secretariat, or because we need to collect them. You can send them by email as well. Yeah, then the program itself. So today we are in the morning in plenary sessions, and then in the afternoon we start the parallel sessions. For people that are presenting in the parallel sessions, as I indicated, we needed to make some room in the program to accept enough presentations, which means that we are somewhat tight constrained. So in your presentations, please keep time limits into account. There's a maximum of 10 minutes per presentation, and then we can still have 5 minutes of Q&A, which makes a total of 15 minutes. We have asked the chairs of each session to really make sure that people don't go over time, because then you're eating time away of the next presenter. Your presentations need to be provided by a USB pen, so make sure that in the break just before your session starts, you are going to the room and upload your presentation. If you can't use USB pens, some institutes are not allowed to do that, send your presentation to the IMC Secretariat and this will be taken care of. Yeah, as I emphasized already, the online poster session is an important part of our conference. So really make sure that we go there. We owe it to our colleagues that are presenting these posters, that they also get enough attention. You can go there via the WOFA app. And then on Thursday, we have one more plenary session. We start the morning with the parallel sessions. And then we have the meeting of the scientific working groups and the community project session. And as I indicated before, everybody that has a nice new project with multiple institutes, you are encouraged to send that presentation to the imcconsortium.org before Wednesday, by the end of the day, so that we can collect them, and then we will do this very fast presentations. 1 slide, 1 minute. Yeah, and then I have to start thanking, first of all, the program committee members. We have been preparing this conference already since March again, and then among others evaluating all these great submissions. So first of all, I would like to thank the program committee members. So maybe you can help me as well with a round of applause for them. But maybe they are not the most important people for the conference. We also have the plenary speakers, we have the speakers in the parallel sessions, we have the poster presenters, and above all also the participants. So I think together we can make this conference a great place. I too really would like to thank the Secretariat for organizing, because they did a wonderful job in making sure that this could happen with such a growth in the conference. Yeah, so all the parallel plenary and oral sessions are recorded, and they are made available for participants only. The plenary sessions will be made available on the IMC YouTube channel, and but conditional on speakers' authorization. The scientific working groups and the poster sessions will obviously not be recorded. And that's it for the introduction. And I think we need to move also to the very first plenary session, because we're already 3 minutes over time. So thanks.